Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Adamoose, and today I'm going to be breaking down what exactly is a winner's mindset in League of Legends. Everyone knows that League can be a mentally draining game, especially if you're in the wrong headspace. In this video, we'll not only discuss how to simply just enjoy the game more, but also how to improve way faster with less stress. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to let me know by liking the video and leaving a comment down below. If you want to join our community of players looking to improve, be sure to join the Discord link in the description. Dealing with tilt and mindset. First things first, let's talk about why League can be such a frustrating game in the first place. Trust me, I've had my fair share of tilts and mental booms in my time playing League as a jungler. Having a teammate going out of their way to grief you or just ruin your experience is bound to happen and continue happening in the future. The important part is sticking to your own game and learning from your own mistakes. Too many times in a coaching session, I see my students pointing out what their teammates did wrong before they even stop to think about what they could have done better. Even if your team made 20 mistakes and you made a small mistake, it's still on you to find out what you can improve on and move on from there. This is the most general, but in my opinion, the single most important thing to change in your mindset to really take your game to the next level. Don't get me wrong, it's still important to understand what your teammates did wrong, just always focus on your own play first. The thing you'll learn very fast while using this mindset is that there's always something that you could have done better, so focusing on things that are out of your control is just a waste of time and it's very pointless, to be honest. I used to grind an insane amount of StarCraft 2 back in the day, which was not only a really intense game, but also only 1v1s in the ranked ladder. When I lost to an opponent in StarCraft, there was no one to blame but myself. I just got outplayed. I learned an insane amount when I started to realize that these losses were not so bad if I could just get some information from them. Whenever you take one or two bad losses, take a step back and go watch the replays. Try to understand what actually happened in the game instead of just getting mad at your team and then queuing up again. Remember that even if you played great, sometimes you'll still lose. Force yourself to only look at things through the lens of what you could have done better, and you'll climb an insane amount in the long run. Next up, let's discuss how to improve at the process of improvement. This may sound really weird, but in reality, getting better at League is a mixture of different small things that can all be worked on individually in different ways. If you're looking for a get challenger quick scheme, this is not for you. Expecting to instantly improve at every single aspect of your game all at once is a recipe for disappointment and disaster. It's actually much more beneficial to find small goals and focus hard on improving at certain small things one at a time. As an example, when playing jungle, there are many different things you can work on to climb. Your clear speed, map awareness, decision making, win conditions, wave states, jungle matchups, and the list goes on. Instead of looking at that long list and having a panic attack, take each individual thing you want to work on and make small goals on how you're going to improve. If you notice your clear speed is extremely slow, go look up how challengers or pros are clearing on the specific champ, and then try mimicking them in practice tool over and over until you see direct improvement. Once clearing faster comes more naturally, and you don't have to focus on it so much, then it's time to look at something else to improve on, and then repeating the process. Although this sounds slow and boring, I really do think this is by far the fastest way to make improvements. This also goes for learning a new role or champions as well. It's important to limit the amount of things you need to focus on at once when trying something new. For example, if I'm learning how to play top lane for the first time, it's probably best I stick with an easy mechanical champion like Darius or Garen at first. That way, instead of focusing on how to press my buttons correctly, I can spend way more energy actually understanding the ins and outs of how top lane works. Keep in mind that setting goals and actually learning each aspect of the game comes with time and a ton of patience, so don't put too much pressure on yourself during the process. On the topic of goal setting, I also see a lot of players who set themselves up for disappointment by the goals that they set. Instead of your goal being hitting a certain rank or achieving a certain win rate, try to improve on things that you can easily track your progress on. Let's say you want to improve on your camera movement as a jungler. You don't want to go directly from playing on lock screen with zero camera movement, straight to using F keys at a billion miles an hour like Faker does. Mastering the basics and taking it step by step from square one is extremely important if you want to become a well-rounded, consistent player. And finally, let's discuss some of the most fundamental skills you'll need on your journey to becoming an all-around solid player. First off, and most importantly, is studying high ELO or pro gameplay on a consistent basis. Although this is very straightforward, it's not enough to just sit on the couch, lounging, watching your favorite streamer, half asleep while eating Cheetos. For most beginner to intermediate level players, I recommend putting your focus into figuring out what exactly these high ELO players are doing that you don't. This is a skill in itself, since it can actually be very hard to tell the difference between what an average player and a great player are doing if you don't know what to look for. This is why I actually really recommend watching a ton of your own replays, since it will make it very clear what you're doing wrong compared to the top tier players. Make it a habit to put yourself in the shoes of the high ELO players that you're watching, and try to predict how they're going to play out the games. Camera control is something that a lot of players tend to get overwhelmed by at first, especially if you're comfortable playing on lock screen. Lock screen is good to get the hang of the game, but really does limit you since you can only get a certain amount of information at a time. There are multiple levels of camera control that you can practice with a simple drill in the practice tool. To start, place one dummy in each lane and in the jungle. Now all you need to do is practice moving your camera from your champion to each different spot on the map as fast and as accurately as you can. Now if you're comfortable with basic camera movement, you can then do this exact same thing utilizing F keys. I definitely only recommend this for more experienced players as it can be very overwhelming at first. Since I'm a jungler, I like to practice this while I'm also clearing my jungle. This forces me to try and clear as fast as I can, while also checking my lanes in the downtime to mimic a real game. If you're a laner, you can practice this as well while trying to farm in lane. The goal of this drill is to make you practice your camera control while also focusing on something else, such as farming, so once you get into a real game, you'll not be completely overwhelmed. Everyone knows farming is important, but not many people actively try and practice their skills when it comes to last hitting or clearing the jungle. For laners, the drill is very simple. Go into the practice tool with a champion such as Zillion with an absolutely terrible auto attack animation, and just run around the rift auto attacking minions for last hits. No abilities allowed. Knowing where to go to get farm is a skill in itself that's insanely important when trying to get out of the lower ELO brackets with some high CS numbers. If you're still struggling with low CS numbers in the mid game, watching higher ELO players and focusing hard on what they're doing to get farm can be very helpful to see what you're doing wrong. Lastly is something completely out of game, but equally as important. Setting a good environment and plan for you to actually stick to and focus on improvement. Everyone's different, so this can really change depending on what works for you. With that being said, let me just list a couple things that I do when I'm really trying to improve and climb. First off is just forcing myself to take breaks. This is probably the single most important thing I started doing. Nothing is worse than playing 4 games, getting super tilted, and then just perma re-queuing until your brain explodes. Those extra games are not helping you. They're just wasting your time, and most likely your LP as well. Force yourself to take breaks in between games, whether they're wins or losses, and this will help you so much on your climb and also with your mental health. On a similar note, it's very important to not only track your progress through your rank or LP. I know this can be very hard, but remember that it's a team game, and sometimes you just get unlucky with bad teams and lose. Try to keep a cool head and think about your individual play. If you're playing well, you'll eventually climb. If you catch yourself making unusual mistakes often, take a step back and maybe practice some drills or some normal games before going back into ranked. Next up is creating a plan of how many games you want to play in full focus mode per week. This is important for 2 reasons. Number 1 is for people like me who actually don't like playing ranked that much but want to play in a competitive environment and improve. This forces me to actually play through those games whether I like it or not and get over the ranked anxiety. At the end of the day, the LP I gain or lose is just a number. The second reason is for the person who plays a crazy amount of ranked and does not know the difference between full focus and not. For this type of person, I really recommend just having multiple accounts, one for full focus and others for limit testing and more fun. The point is to make it very clear to yourself when it's full focus tryhard mode, so you actually play those games with 100% effort and have no excuses. And lastly, why do you actually want to improve at League? What's your goal? This is probably the most important thing to ask yourself before doing anything else that I mentioned. Do you want to climb the ranks? Do you want to become a better Clash teammate? Or do you just like learning about the game and want to improve? At the end of the day, League is a game and it's supposed to be fun, and a lot of people forget that. Asking yourself these questions can really put things into perspective before you just rage queue up for your next ranked game. Remember why you're playing in the first place, and don't get too stressed over immediate results. In the long run, if you have a good plan and stay focused, you'll definitely improve and climb. That will do it for my in-depth guide on how to have a winner's mindset in League of Legends. If you stayed to the end and have any questions or opinions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this type of content, it helps me out so much if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel. My goal is to post high quality educational videos for you guys, and all the support helps. With all that being said, thanks for watching everyone. I really appreciate it. Until the next video, peace out.